In this video, I'm going to be talking about the relationship between the human soul and the Oversoul. So let's get to it. Okay, so our cumulative life experiences on Earth are represented by our soul and our Oversoul. So the memories of every single life, all the experiences on Earth, are integrated into our soul and Oversoul at the end of every single human lifetime. So based on our karmic configurations, a life plan for our upcoming life is created by our soul, our Oversoul, and our higher self prior to us reincarnating back on Earth. So now let's look at the difference between our soul and our Oversoul. A good analogy to use to describe the relationship between the soul and the Oversoul is the human hand. You see, the soul would be represented by one of the fingers on the hand, while the Oversoul will be represented by the fleshy part of the hand. You see, this analogy suggests that there is more than one soul connected to the Oversoul. If you have 13 spheres, all exactly the same size, 12 spheres will fit perfectly around the 13th sphere in the middle. So as you can see, the 13th sphere is in direct contact with the 12 other spheres. So each of the spheres, the 12 spheres, represents a soul, while the sphere in the middle represents the Oversoul. This is known as an Oversoul cluster. So such a clustered arrangement enables more than one soul unit of the Oversoul to reincarnate into human embodiments simultaneously, so therefore expanding the collective experience of the Oversoul cluster. You see, the Oversoul itself doesn't incarnate into a physical body. It always remains in the fourth dimension so that it can oversee and guide the collective experience. So the fourth dimension in which the Oversoul resides in is outside of time and space. It's in a place we call the eternal moment. This allows the individual soul units to incarnate into embodiments that are in different time periods as we experience time here on Earth. So whether or not the soul is currently involved with a physical embodiment, each soul in the cluster has ongoing roles and responsibilities within the non-physical realms, within the fourth dimension. For example, it may be involved in learning experiences in the hall of learning, either as a student or as a teacher, depending on the level of, evolutionary development of the soul. Or it may be involved in a wide range of other activities. Most of these activities will take place while the human body is asleep if the soul is currently involved with a human embodiment. The light body is the body in which the soul uses to function within the non-physical fourth dimensional realms. Even while the body is awake, the soul continues to monitor what's going on within the higher realms, and sometimes it will need to partially withdraw its focus from the human self to carry out responsibilities within the non-physical realms. The human self may experience a sense of drowsiness or a feeling that it is not quite all there during such situations. When the human self begins to awaken after it has been sleeping, there is usually a period of time before consciousness fully returns to the body, in which there might be some bleeding through of awareness from within the non-physical realms. This may be in a form similar to a dream, or it might come through as an intuitive feeling. A few people who are well along their journey, their spiritual awakening journey process, may actually remember some of what was happening in the non-physical fourth dimensional realms. It is also possible for more than one soul of an Oversoul cluster to extend into the same human embodiment. Because of the importance of this particular lifetime as Earth moves into a completion of a very long cycle of evolution, most Oversoul clusters are actually consolidating into single embodiments. Such a consolidation can be a very interesting experience. Since each soul unit has its own history and therefore its own unique characteristics, the embodiment functions more as a collective, with different souls of the group moving to the forefront at different times. This can be a very unusual and sometimes challenging experience for the person involved. For example, if Soul 1 was in the forefront yesterday and Soul 2 is in the forefront today, Soul 2 will not remember the experiences that the embodiment had yesterday with the same clarity as Soul 1 would if Soul 1 was still in the forefront. Functioning as a collective can also present some challenges with regards to relationships. You see, people who are close to you in your life, such as a spouse, may experience you having a multiple personality disorder. If you are, a person that has undergone this form of soul consolidation and is now functioning as a collective, they can often see the shift in the energies in your eyes if your mate or a close friend is sensitive to energies. So for them, it is almost like living with a chameleon. They don't quite know which soul is going to be present in any given moment. Not all Oversoul clusters involve 12 soul units. You see, depending on how evolved the Oversoul cluster is, some will have fewer soul units as the units consolidate. You see, the fewer the soul units in a cluster, the more evolved the soul cluster is. Regardless of how evolved and how small an Oversoul cluster might be, all the same concept and considerations still apply. Okay, so that's it for this video, Soul Fam, and I'll see you guys in part 3.